ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Namaste my dear friends. Today I am giving this video about a great yogi of India, Shama Charan Lahari Mahasaya. Paramhansa Yogananda has mentioned in his autobiography of a yogi about Lahari Mahasaya and Yukteswar, his guru. So, it was into a pious Brahmin family of ancient lineage that Lahari Mahasaya was born September 30, 1828. His birthplace was the village of Ghurni in the Nadia district near Krishnanagar, Bengal. He was the youngest son of Mukta Kashi, the second wife of the esteemed God Mohan Lahari. His first wife, after the birth of 3 sons, had died during a pilgrimage. The boy's mother passed away during his childhood. Little about her is known except the revealing fact that she was an ardent devotee of Lord Shiva, scripturally designated as the king of yogis. The boy Lahari, whose given name was Shama Charan, spent his early years in the ancestral home at Nadia. At the age of 3 or 4, he was often observed sitting on the sands in the posture of a yogi, his body completely hidden except for the head. The Lahari estate was destroyed in the winter of 1833 when the nearby Jalangi river changed its course and disappeared into the depths of the Ganges. One of the Shiva temples founded by the Laharis went into the river along with the family home. A devotee rescued the stone image of Lord Shiva from the swirling waters and placed it in a new temple now well known as the Ghurni Shiva site. God Mohan Lahari and his family left Nadia and became residents of Banaras, where the father immediately erected a Shiva temple. He conducted his household along the lines of Vedic discipline with regular observance of ceremonial worship, acts of charity and scriptural study. Just and open-minded, however, he did not ignore the beneficial current of modern idea. The boy Lahari took lessons in Hindi and Urdu in Banaras study groups. He attended a school conducted by Joy Narayan Ghoshal, receiving instruction in Sanskrit, Bengali, French and English. Applying himself to a close study of the Vedas, the young yogi listened eagerly to scriptural discussions by learned Brahmins, including a Mrahata Pandit named Nag Bhatta. Shamacharan was a kind, gentle and courageous youth, beloved by all his companions. With a well-proportioned, bright and powerful body, he excelled in swimming and in many skillful activities. In 1846, Shyamacharan Lahari was married to Srimati Kasi Moni, daughter of Sri Devnarayan Sanyal, a model Indian housewife. Kasi Moni cheerfully carried on her home duties and the traditional householder's obligation to serve guests and the poor. Two saintly sons, Tinkori and Dukori, blessed the union. At the age of 23 in 1851, Lahari Mahasaya took the post of accountant in the military engineering department of the English government. He received many promotions during the time of his service. Thus, not only was he a master before God's eye, but also a success in the little human drama where he played his given role as an office worker in the world. As the offices of the army department were shifted, Lahari Mahasaya was transferred to Gazipur, Mirzapur, Danapur, Nainital, Banaras and other localities. After the death of his father, Lahari had to assume the entire responsibility of his family, for whom he bought a quiet residence in the Gurudeshwar Mohalla neighborhood of Banaras. It was in his 33rd year that Lahari Mahasaya saw fulfillment of the purpose for which he had been reincarnated on earth. The earth's hidden flame, long smouldering, received its opportunity to burst into flame. A divine decree resting beyond the gaze of human beings works mysteriously to bring all things into outer manifestation at the proper time. He met his great Guru Babaji near Ranikhet and was initiated by him into Kriya Yoga. The auspicious event did not happen to him alone. It was a fortunate moment for all the human race, many of whom were later privileged to receive the soul awakening gift of Kriya. The lost or long vanished highest art of yoga was again being brought to light. Many spiritually thirsty men and women eventually found their way to the cool waters of Kriya Yoga. Just as in the Hindu legend, where Mother Ganges offers her divine draught to the parched devotees, Bhagiratha, so the celestial flood of Kriya rolled from the sacred fastnesses of the Himalayas into the dusty haunts of man. The teaching style of Lahari Mahasaya. This is narrated by Swami Kebalaనంద, disciple of Lahari Mahasaya. Rarely fortunate, I was able to remain near Lahari Mahasaya for 10 years. His Benares home was my nightly goal of pilgrimage. The Guru was always present in a small front parlor on the first floor. As he sat in lotus posture on a backless wooden seat, his disciples garlanded him in a semicircle. His eyes sparkled and danced with the joy of the divine. They were ever half closed, peering through the inner telescopic orb into a sphere of eternal bliss. He seldom spoke at length. Occasionally his gaze would focus on a student in need of help. Healing words poured Then, like an avalanche of light, an indescribable peace blossomed within me. At the master's glance, I was permeated with his fragrance as though from a lotus of infinity. To be with him even without exchanging a word for days was an experience which changed my entire being. If any invisible barrier rose in the path of my concentration, I would meditate at the Guru's feet. There the most tenuous states came easily within my grasp. Such perceptions eluded me in the presence of lesser teachers. The Master was a living temple of God, whose secret doors were open to all disciples through devotion. Lahari Mahasaya was no bookish interpreter of the scriptures. Effortlessly he dipped into the divine library, form of words and spray of thoughts gushed from the fountain of his omniscience. He had the wondrous clavis which unlocked the profound philosophical science embedded ages ago in the Vedas. If asked to explain the different planes of consciousness mentioned in the ancient text, he would smilingly assent. I will undergo those states and presently tell you what I perceive. He was thus diametrically unlike the teachers who commit scriptures to memory and then give forth unrealized abstractions. Please expound the holy stanzas as the meaning occurs to you. The taciturn Guru often gave his instructions to a nearby disciple. He will say, I will guide you thoughts that the right interpretation be uttered. In this way, many of Lahari Mahasaya's perceptions came to be recorded with voluminous commentaries by various students. The master never counseled slavish belief. Words are only shells, he said. Win conviction of God's presence through your own joyous contact in meditation. No matter what the disciple's problem, the Guru advised Kriya Yoga for its solution. The yogic key will not lose its efficiency when I am no longer present in the body to guide you. This technique cannot be bound, filed, and forgotten in the manner of theoretical inspirations. Continue ceaselessly on your path to liberation through Kriya, whose power lies in practice. I myself consider Kriya the most effective device of salvation through self-effort ever to be evolved in man's search for the infinite. Through its use, the omnipotent God hidden in all men became visibly incarnated in the flesh of Lahari Mahasaya and a number of his disciples. Kasi Moni, Lahari Mahasaya's wife. This is narrated by Kasi Moni herself. Although aged, she was blooming like a lotus, silently emanating a spiritual fragrance. She was of medium build, with a slender neck and fair skin. Large, lustrous eyes softened her motherly face. Paramhansa Yogananda describing Kasi Moni, Lahari Mahasaya's wife. It was years before I came to realize the divine stature of my husband. One night in this very room I had a vivid dream. Glorious angels floated in unimaginable grace above me, so realistic was the sight that I awoke at once. The room was strangely enveloped in dazzling lights. My husband, in lotus posture, was levitated in the center of the room. surrounded by angels who were worshipped him with the supplicating dignity of palm folded hands. Astonished beyond measure, I was convinced that I was still dreaming. Woman, Lahari Mase said, you are not dreaming. Forsake your sleep forever and forever. As he slowly descended to the floor, I prostrated myself at his feet. Master, I cried, again and again I bow before you. Will you pardon me for having considered you as my husband? I die with shame to realize that I have remained asleep in ignorance by the side of one who is divinely awakened. From this night you are no longer my husband but my Guru. Will you accept my insignificant self as your disciple? The Master touched me gently. Sacred soul, arise. You are accepted. He mentioned toward the angels, please bow in turn to each of these holy saints. When I had finished my humble genuflections, the angelic voices sounded together like a chorus from an ancient scripture. Consort of the Divine One, thou art blessed. We salute thee. They bowed at my feet, and lo, their refulgent forms vanished, the room darkened. My Guru asked me to receive initiation into Kriya Yoga. Of course, I responded, I am sorry not to have had its blessing earlier in my life. The time was not ripe. Lahari Mahase smiled consolingly. Much of your karma I have silently helped you to work out. Now you are willing and ready. He touched my forehead. Masses of whirling light appeared. The radiance gradually found itself into the opal blue spiritual eye, ringed in gold and scintillated with a white pentagonal star. Penetrate your consciousness through the star into the kingdom of the infinite. My Guru's voice had a new note, soft like distant music. Vision after vision broke as oceanic surf on the surge of my soul. The panoramic spheres finally melted in a sea of bliss. I lost myself in ever-surging blessedness. When I returned hours later to awareness of this world, the Master gave me the technique of Kriya Yoga. From that night on, Lahari Mahase never slept in my room again, nor thereafter did he ever sleep. He remained in the front room downstairs in the company of his disciples both by day and by night. I will confess a sin which I committed against my Guru husband. Some months after my initiation, I began to feel forlorn and neglected. One morning, Lahari Mahase entered this little room to fetch an article. I quickly followed him. Overcome by violent delusion, I addressed him scathingly. You spend all your time with the disciples. What about your responsibilities for your wife and children? I regret that you do not interest yourself in providing more money for the family. The Master glanced at me for a moment, then lo, he was gone. Awed and frightened, I heard a voice resounding from every part of the room. It's all nothing, don't you see? How could a nothing like me produce riches for you? Guruji, I cried, I implore pardon a million times. My sinful eyes can see you no more. Please appear in your sacred form. I am here. This reply came from above me. I looked up and saw the Master materialize in the air, his head touching the ceiling. His eyes were like blinding flames. Beside myself with fear, I lay sobbing at his feet after he had quietly descended to the floor. Woman, he said, seek divine wealth, not the paltry tinsel of earth. After acquiring inward treasure, You will find that outward supply is always forthcoming, he added. One of my spiritual sons will make provisions for you. My Guru's words naturally came true. A disciple did leave a considerable sum for our family. So here I end this video. Thank you for watching with patience. Please like, comment and share the video, and please subscribe my channel. Thank you my dear friends. Namaskar, namaskar, namaskar.